When everything falls apart, a family story of survival. The camera captured what words often fail to express, a family holding on by a thread. Mark and Sarah Henderson sat on their living room couch, their 2 daughters behind them, in what would become the most vulnerable moment of their lives shared with the world. This wasn't a carefully staged photo shoot. This was raw reality, frozen in time. The collapse. Just 18 months earlier, the Hendersons were living comfortably in suburban Michigan. Mark worked as an engineer at an automotive supplier, a job he'd held for 9 years. Sarah balanced part-time work as a dental hygienist with raising their daughters, 9-year-old Chloe and 7-year-old Mia. They weren't wealthy, but they were secure. They had a modest home, reliable cars, and enough left over for family vacations and the girls' activities. Then the dominoes started falling. It began with Mark's back injury, a herniated disc that progressively worsened until he could barely stand for more than 20 minutes. Surgery was recommended, but the recovery time was 6 months. Mark took medical leave, expecting to return to work once he healed. He never got that chance. While Mark was recovering, his company lost their major contract. Layoffs swept through the organization like wildfire. Mark received the news while still in physical therapy. His position had been eliminated. After 9 years of dedication, he was out. The timing couldn't have been worse. Mark was still recovering, unable to take on physical work. Sarah increased her hours, but her part-time income couldn't cover their mortgage, car payments, insurance, and mounting medical bills. Their savings evaporated within 3 months. The downward spiral Sarah watched their life unravel with horrifying speed. First, they missed a mortgage payment, then another. Credit card minimums became impossible to meet. The car was repossessed on a Tuesday morning while Chloe and Mia watched from the living room window, confused and frightened. "Where's Daddy's car going?" Mia asked, her small voice trembling. Sarah didn't know how to explain that they couldn't afford to keep it anymore. How do you tell a 7-year-old that everything they've known as stable is crumbling? Mark spiraled into depression. The physical pain from his injury was manageable compared to the emotional agony of watching his family suffer because he couldn't provide. He applied for jobs obsessively, but the market was saturated with experienced engineers, many younger and willing to work for less. The rejection emails became a daily torture. Sarah tried to hold everything together, but the weight was crushing. She worked longer hours, took on extra shifts, and spent her nights calculating numbers that never added up to anything hopeful. She stopped sleeping well. She stopped eating regularly. Her smile, once so easy, became something she had to consciously construct for her daughter's sake. The girls noticed everything. Chloe, perceptive and sensitive, started having nightmares. Mia became clingy and anxious, crying at drop-offs and struggling in school. The stress in their home was palpable, hanging in the air like smoke. Rock bottom. The foreclosure notice arrived 6 months after Mark lost his job. They had 60 days to leave their home, the place where both girls had taken their first steps, where birthday parties and Christmas mornings had created a tapestry of happy memories. Sarah found Mark in the garage, sitting in the dark, the notice crumpled in his hand. His shoulders shook with silent sobs. "I've destroyed our family," he whispered. "Everything we built. I destroyed it." "No," Sarah said firmly, kneeling beside him. "Life destroyed it. Bad luck destroyed it. But we're still here, Mark. We're still a family. That's what matters." But even as she said the words, Sarah wasn't sure she believed them. How could they be a family without a home? How could they protect their children from this trauma? How could they survive? They swallowed their pride and asked for help. Sarah's brother offered his basement, unfinished, cramped, but free. They moved in with 3 suitcases of belongings, most of their possessions sold or stored. The girls shared an air mattress. Mark and Sarah slept on a donated futon. Privacy was non-existent. Dignity felt like a luxury they'd lost along with everything else. The turning point. That's when Live on Purpose, a nonprofit organization focused on family resilience, reached out. They were documenting families navigating financial hardship, and someone had connected them with the Hendersons. "We want to show that good families can face bad circumstances," the program director explained. "Your story could help others feel less alone." Mark was reluctant. Wasn't it bad enough to be living this nightmare without broadcasting it to the world? But Sarah saw it differently. If our pain can help even one family feel less ashamed, isn't it worth it? She asked. So they agreed to the photo and interview. The day of the shoot, they borrowed Sarah's brother's couch, trying to create a sense of normalcy. Mark wore a button-down shirt. Sarah put on makeup for the first time in weeks. They wanted to look put together, even though they felt shattered. But the photographer asked them to just be real. Don't perform, she said gently, just be. So they sat together, exhausted, worried, but still united. Chloe and Mia positioned themselves behind their parents, instinctively seeking the comfort of closeness. The camera captured the weariness in Mark's eyes, the determined set of Sarah's jaw, the innocence of children affected by circumstances beyond their understanding. The tips that saved them. In the interview, the Hendersons shared the hard-won wisdom from their darkest period. Communicate honestly. We started telling each other the truth about how scared we were, Sarah explained. That vulnerability brought us closer instead of driving us apart. Ask for help early. We waited. Too long, Mark admitted. By the time we asked for help, we were in crisis. Don't let pride delay reaching out to family, friends, or community resources. Focus on controllables. I couldn't control the job market or our financial situation, Mark said. But I could control my attitude and my commitment to my family. That focus saved me from complete despair. Protect your relationship. In crisis, it's easy to become roommates managing problems instead of partners supporting each other, Sarah noted. We had to intentionally connect, even when we were exhausted. Be age-appropriately honest with kids. Our girls knew something was wrong, Sarah said. Being honest helped reduce their anxiety and taught them about resilience. Redefine success. Success became getting through another day together, Mark explained. Small victories matter when you're in survival mode. Find purpose in pain. We chose to let this experience teach us rather than destroy us, Sarah said. That choice made all the difference. The response. When their story went public, the response overwhelmed them. Thousands of people shared similar experiences: job loss, medical crisis, foreclosure. The messages poured in from families who had felt alone in their shame and suddenly realized they weren't. Thank you for your bravery, one message read. You helped me ask my family for help instead of losing everything first. Your story saved my marriage, another person wrote. We were blaming each other. Seeing your unity gave us hope. More tangibly, Mark received job leads from people who saw the story. One led to an interview, which led to a position as a project coordinator. Not his old salary, but enough to start rebuilding. Where they are now, a year after that photo was taken, the Hendersons moved into a small rental house. It's modest, but it's theirs. The girls have their own room again. Sarah and Mark sleep in an actual bedroom with a door that closes. Mark's job isn't glamorous, but it's stable. Sarah continues working, and they're slowly paying down debt. They'll probably never own a home again, at least not for many years. Their credit is damaged, their savings non-existent, their retirement plans derailed. But they're together, they're surviving, and slowly, carefully, they're beginning to believe in the possibility of thriving again. Chloe still worries more than a 10-year-old should. Mia has separation anxiety. Mark battles depression. Sarah struggles with financial PTSD, panicking at unexpected expenses. Recovery isn't linear or complete. The scars remain, but so does the love. So does the resilience. So does the family that refused to break, even when everything else did. The message: if the Hendersons could speak to families in crisis today, they would say this: you are not alone. You are not failures. Your struggle doesn't define your worth or your family's value. Ask for help. Be honest with each other. Focus on what you can control. Celebrate small victories. Choose purpose over victimhood. These tips won't solve all your problems. They won't pay your bills or eliminate your stress, but they might help you survive with your family intact, your dignity preserved, and your hope still flickering. And sometimes survival is enough. Sometimes survival is everything. The photo of the Henderson family remains a powerful testament to the strength of ordinary people facing extraordinary hardship. Behind the weary eyes and brave faces is a story that thousands of American families live every day, a story of loss, struggle, perseverance, and the enduring power of family love. They didn't choose this struggle, but they chose how to face it. That choice changed everything.
I don't know how to exist in a world where she's gone. Every morning, I wake up And for just a second I forget, and then I remember. And it's like losing her all over again. The pills make it hurt less. They make everything hurt less, but they're taking you away from us, Jake said, reaching out to touch her hand. His fingers were warm despite the rain, solid and real. And Sarah wouldn't want that. You know she wouldn't. She loved you and she loved Lily, and if she were here right now she'd be kicking your ass for what you're doing to yourself. Emma felt something crack inside her chest, not breaking, but opening. A sob tore from her throat, raw and ugly, and then she was crying in earnest for the first time since the funeral. Not the silent tears that had leaked from her eyes during those first weeks, or the numb dissociation that had followed, but real gut-wrenching sobs that shook her entire body. Jake pulled her into his arms, right there in the filthy alley with rain pouring down on them both, and he held her while she fell apart. "I've got you," he murmured into her hair. "I've got you, Em. You're not alone." Lily inched closer, her small hand reaching out to touch Emma's arm. "Mommy?" Her voice was so small, so tentative, as if she wasn't sure she still had permission to use that word. Emma opened her eyes and looked at her daughter, really looked at her for the first time in months. She saw Sarah's eyes staring back at her, the same bright blue that had been a family trait for 3 generations. She saw Sarah's smile in the curve of Lily's lips, heard Sarah's laugh and the way Lily sometimes giggled at cartoons. Sarah wasn't gone, Emma realized. She lived on in Lily, in the genetic code they shared, in the memories they'd make together. "I'm here, baby," Emma said, pulling Lily into the embrace. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." They sat like that for a long time, the 3 of them huddled together in the rain while the city moved around them, cars splashing through. Puddles, people hurrying past with umbrellas, the distant wail of a siren. Emma knew that this moment didn't fix everything. She knew she had a long road ahead, that recovery would be harder than anything she'd ever done, that there would be days when the grief threatened to swallow her whole. She knew that Jake's trust would take time to rebuild, that Lily would carry scars from these months of maternal absence, that she'd have to face the consequences of losing her job and maxing out credit cards to feed her addiction. But she also knew, in that moment with her family's arms around her, that she wanted to try. She wanted to fight, not for Sarah, who was beyond saving, but for Lily, who deserved a mother who was present, for Jake, who deserved a partner who didn't vanish into pills and oblivion, and maybe, eventually, for herself. "Can we go home?" Emma asked, her voice hoarse from crying. Jake nodded, helping her to her feet. Her legs wobbled, weak from days of malnutrition and the lingering effects of whatever Dante had sold her. But Jake's arm around her waist kept her steady. Lily grabbed her other hand, squeezing tight, and together they walked out of the alley. The rain was starting to let up as they reached Jake's truck, parked illegally at a loading zone with its hazard lights still flashing. Jake opened the passenger door and helped Emma inside, then buckled Lily into her car seat in the back. As he walked around to the driver's side, Emma caught her reflection in the side mirror. Mascara streaked down her cheeks, hair plastered to her skull, dress ruined beyond repair. She looked like someone who'd survived a shipwreck, which, she supposed, she had. Jake started the engine and cranked up the heat, aiming the vents toward Emma. "We'll go home," he said, pulling into traffic. "You'll take a hot shower, eat something, and then tomorrow we're going to find you a good rehab program. A real one, residential, where they can help you detox safely and give you the tools to stay clean." Emma nodded, too exhausted to argue. Through the rain-spattered windshield, she watched Portland scroll past. The streets she'd walked with Sarah as teenagers, the coffee shop where they'd spent every Sunday morning, the bookstore where Sarah had worked during college. The city was full of ghosts, but Emma realized they didn't all have to be haunting. Some of them could be blessings, memories she'd cherish once the fog of addiction finally cleared. In the back seat, Lily started humming a song, something from one of those animated movies she loved, something about letting go and moving on. Emma closed her eyes and let the melody wash over her, a fragile hope taking root in the ruins of her life. The road ahead would be long and difficult. There would be withdrawal symptoms that made her wish for death, therapy sessions where she'd have to excavate the deepest parts of her pain, sleepless nights when the craving for pills would claw at her throat. There would be temptations and setbacks, days when she'd feel like she was back in that alley with nowhere to go and no way out. But she wouldn't be alone. Jake would be there, and Lily, and eventually maybe even Rachel and the others who'd tried to help her before, and somewhere in whatever came after life, Sarah would be there too, not as a ghost or a wound, but as a memory of love, laughter, and a bond that not even death could completely sever. As they turned onto their street, the rain finally stopped. Through the breaking clouds, a sliver of pale sunlight cut across the city, illuminating the wet pavement and making everything shine like new. Emma took it as a sign, or maybe just a gift, a reminder that even the darkest storms eventually end, and that morning always comes, even if you have to fight through the longest night to reach it. Jake parked in their driveway, and together they went inside, closing the door on the rain and the alley and all the wrong turns that had led Emma to that moment of despair. The house smelled like home, coffee and Lily's strawberry shampoo and the lavender candles Jake liked to burn in the evenings. It smelled like a life worth fighting for. And for the first time in 6 months, Emma thought she might actually be strong enough to fight.